Good morning. Do you ever get burnt out? I'm feeling burnt out the last few days. It's taxes season. And boy, there's nothing gonna burn me out quite like number crunching and detail managing. So I was thinking about burnout this morning. And I wanted to share an insight about it that I think maybe we all know on some level, but I don't think people really talk about consciously too much. And that is, burnout only happens when you're doing something you don't want to be doing. Right? I mean, when's the last time you got burnt out doing your favorite thing? You can do that forever, right? So, and yet, sometimes there are things that we have to do. Or we think we have to do. Somehow or other, I have to get my taxes done. But maybe I don't have to do it the way I think I do. And that's often the sort of trap in burnout, is that we've talked ourselves into a corner. We're trapped by our own beliefs of what is necessary. And I'm thinking this more and more, that it's not so much that we have to do those things as that we believe we have to do them, or in a certain way. For instance, I used to think that I had to do a lot more of the actual number crunching in taxes, and now I don't do that. I pass that off to other people or the accountant or something. Excuse me. And that frees me of a lot of the drudgery, and I'm a lot less burnt out. Does it even matter if we're burnt out? Like, isn't everybody burnt out? That's a valid point these days. It seems like everybody is running on constant burnout. Is that natural? No. It's normal, but it's not natural. And it's not healthy or safe. And it's not spiritually progressive, let's say. In other words, it's detrimental to our spiritual awareness and growth, and locks us into a reactionary mode because we're too tired to be proactive, for instance. And I mean, even just doing things that are nourishing and rejuvenating for ourselves feels like, when we're burnt out, feels like, oh my gosh, one more thing I have to do, right? So we just veg out in our favorite vegging out way. And that continues the cycle in a way. It's like the burnout. We can't step out of the burnout because we're so tired that we can't see our way out. And the more tired we are, the easier it is to get burnt out. And it's just this cycle, a very destructive cycle. So what options are there? The first thing we need to do, if we want to find an alternative, is to crack open our beliefs a little bit and allow for the possibility that there may be other ways of doing things, and that what we truly believe and seem to know is necessary or real may not be quite so real or necessary. What happens a lot of the time is that it's our subconscious programs and fears that are running the whole burnout process. You know, what subconscious fear do you have that tells you you have to keep doing this thing that you hate? In a co-creative reality, you know, that's ludicrous on the surface of it. We get to choose what we have to do to a large extent, and to a greater extent as we get better at this co-creation thing. So right now, if you're, like for myself, I'll speak for myself, in this state of burnout that I've got going on, it's pretty mild, but it's still burnout. My belief is that I have to get this done in a certain time frame. And to some extent, that could be true. There's a tax deadline, and if I miss that, I might have to pay a fee. So, okay, I have to pay a fee. Maybe that's better than burnout. Maybe that's better than the stress that I'm putting my body through, my poor body, going through all of this, you know, pumping those adrenals to try to keep up, and all of the cascade effect of health impairment that creates. There's also, you know, that I'm not at that tax deadline yet. I could take another week to do it. I could take another 2 weeks to do it, and it wouldn't really be a detriment. So here are the stories that I've got going on that say I have to do this at a certain time in a certain way. What are the stories that you have going on that say you have to stay in this cruddy job, or you have to, I don't know, put all this pressure on yourself in whatever way you're doing that? Is the world really going to come to an end? You know, if you stopped, or if you spaced it out, if you took more time and alternated with something that's actually really revitalizing for your spirit. And then what are the fears underlying that? Understand, we don't do these things just because they're fun, or even just because it's a habit. Partly it's a habit, but realize that there are fears or subconscious motivations, perhaps, that are driving an unproductive behavior. Always. Any unproductive behavior we do is because on some subconscious level, we think that that's going to be helpful or protective or safer or something. The aim of any dysfunctional behavior is our own safety and well-being from a mindset that doesn't understand how to truly be safe and well. It's coming from early traumas, it's coming from early patterns, it's coming from ego, and all of those things that are only seeing, you know, this much of the picture. It can't see how you can really truly be safe and secure in the world. It's just saying, do this and you will be, but it's wrong, even just on the surface. Because as soon as you start to get into a stress mode, whatever you call that, fear, anxiety, burnout, overwhelm, overload, crazy busy, as soon as you get into that state, you're already in a risky place. Because A, you're giving your body all of these detrimental chemicals and hormones. And B, you're creating for the future more of that, because this is the energy you have, this is the energy you're putting out. And the energy you're putting out is what the universe mirrors back. So, do we want that? We want that when things are going well, but not when we're stress monkeys and, burnt out little critters lying on a side of a road somewhere. So, is there anything else that wants to come through about that today? There are always more opportunities available to us than we can see at any given moment. There are always more possibilities open. And living in a quantum reality where all possibilities exist, and we are developing the power to call those to us, to create those things in our lives and in ourselves. We have the ability to choose other realities, other ways of being, other results, other processes. What would you choose to do if you knew that you had the ability to choose? If you had the power to make it happen and make it work, what would you choose? Can you feel that spark in your heart where it starts to wake up and go, what? Can I what? Really? That's your soul trying to come alive. And doesn't that feel 1,000 times better than whatever might have been stressing you? I remember going through this with my spouse, who was working at just the most horrific, soul-searing, physically depleting, stressful, horrific. It was like being in an abusive relationship for 13 years, I think it was. It was really, really horrible. The worst jobs. But we were stuck in that because for the longest time, she couldn't see her way out. She couldn't see another possibility and thought, if I stop this job, we will just be broke and we won't be able to pay our bills and we might lose our house. And there's this whole story going on. And not to say that those aren't important things, they are. But there were dozens of other possibilities that she just couldn't see because of the fear, the intensity of the fear. So we did a lot of work with that, a lot of tapping, the EFT, a lot of talking, a lot of processing old traumas and processing the story. And eventually she got to the place where she felt safe enough to try something different. And we'd also built in, I had started this other income source that we were starting to rely on more and more. And she started to have some faith in that. And eventually came to a place where she was safe enough to make that leap and has never looked back. That's been about 5 years, I think. And just life is so happy now, so much happier and so much easier and more pleasant and healthy. For a while there, it was kind of scary how ill she was looking on a daily basis just from all of the stress and sleep deprivation and other stuff that was going on. And now she's healthier and happier. And life is fine. We worked it out and it's getting better all the time and the possibilities are endless. So I just put that out there as hopefully kind of an inspiring example that even if when you really, really feel trapped into whatever it is, there are other options if you can allow yourself to find them, if you can deal with the underlying stories and fears and traumas and patterns, and free yourself to be able to listen to that little heart inside of yourself when it sparks and goes, could I? That should be our practice for today, shouldn't it? Let's see if we can't open up those places where we feel locked into something that we hate having to do. There are other options, changing our perspective and whatever, but for today, why not just see what other possibilities might be out there? Make a list, call a friend who's an ideas person or someone who's very positive about opportunities and optimistic, and or listen to your most inspiring teacher that you might have on video or on recording or something, and brainstorm just wild possibilities. What if you could do anything in the world? And try to quiet that little censoring mind that wants to say, yeah, but all the time. Why you can't do that. Yeah, I can't do that because I can't do that, but I couldn't do that. Just put that aside for a little while. You can get back to it later if you want, when it's time to really assess your forward progress, your forward path. But for now, just awaken the possibilities within your heart, because even just that step begins to tell the universe, like it notices, it looks at you and it goes, oh, that's waking up in her. So it opens the door for even more of that. And remember that even 1 minute, I think it is, well, maybe it was 3 minutes, I can't remember, but really a short period of time of putting your thoughts in a new direction literally rewires your brain to be able to think more in that direction. And it feeds your body all of this wonderful, healthy, nourishing, healing energy. So even just doing this is a very helpful practice. It's very beneficial. Even if all you can do for the next month or 6 months or a year is to continually come back to this practice of opening up the possibilities and envisioning for yourself a future that you love, that in itself can start the whole ball rolling towards freedom and liberation. All right, that sounds like fun, right? I think we can do that today, and it'll be a really uplifting and energizing process. So if you're doing taxes, this might come in really handy as well. It'll help me, I'm sure. All right, so are you set? Please remember that I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and we'll just go and we'll play with that today. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. I hope this makes your day a lot more brighter and lighter, and I'm sure it will. Blessed be.